Welcome, Rotarians and guests, to meeting 5,464 of the Rotary Club of San Jose. We have such a fun-packed agenda today. Rotarians and with guests, if you can stand, visiting Rotarians and Rotarians with guests, you can stand and our red badgers can find you. Today on Red Badge mics, we've got not Hal Hendrickson, really, on Red Badge? Awesome, I'll take it. Hal Hendrickson, I can't believe your badge is still red. And Adisabeth Bedell, go for it, introduce yourselves.
Good afternoon, Rotarians. I'm Hal Hendrickson. I'm retired from the electronic manufacturing sector, and my sponsor is the fabulous Heather Lerner.
Aw, thank you. Adessa.
Good afternoon. My name is Adisabeth Bedell, and I'm the founder of Elevate Now Consulting, Government Affairs Consulting Business, and my fabulous sponsor is Rod Dearjon Sr.
Fantastic. All right, I see we've got Carl Salas here who's standing. He's got a guest.
Hey, President Heather. This is Fred.
Hi, Fred.
He's my co-grandparent.
Like Cher? Like Madonna? Fred.
He's my co-grandparent visiting from Florida for the cold weather here.
Welcome. Welcome to our alligator-free zone. Thank you. Hi, Tony.
Hello, President Heather. I have two guests today. My first guest is former Councilwoman and State Assembly Member Nora Campos.
Hi, Nora. Great to see you.
And then my second guest is a partner in California Strategies, Leslie Rodriguez.
Wonderful to have you,
joining us
Leslie.
today.
Thank you for spending time with us. Okay, I do see Pam Foley who's waiting for a mic and a couple more on this side of the room. Our ship is listing today. We're very heavy on the
Good
starboard.
afternoon, President Heather. So good to see you.
So good to see you.
A week before we break for holidays. I'm happy to introduce you to my Chief of Staff, Scott Hughes, who is here to listen to our speaker.
Wonderful. Great to see you again, Scott. Help me out here. You got a mic?
Hi, President Heather.
Hi, Kim.
My daughters are here to watch me get my blue badge today. This is my oldest, Kristen Hill, and my youngest, Kenzie Hill.
So great to see you. Rotarians in waiting is how I like to refer to them. Hi, Chelsea.
Hi, President Heather. I've brought my son, Owen Souza, who is home from college and here to hear the speaker today.
Wonderful. Can we shout out a mascot? Go
Gauchos.
Oh, UCSB. Nice. Go Gauchos. Welcome.
Hi, President Heather.
Hi.
This is Deb Davis here.
I'm squinting. I think it's Deb.
Okay. And I have Stacy Russell here. She works for Good Sam Hospital, and she's relatively new to our city.
Oh, well, welcome. Let's give her a warm San Jose welcome, everybody. The Midwest city on the West Coast. Anyone else?
And I do have a guest as well. I have my friend Nina Hawk. Actually, I'll say it to you, for you. Nina Hawk and I used to work together in the city of Milpitas, and now she's with Southern California Metropolitan Water District.
Oh, fantastic.
So
Great to have
you.
you. Thank you for coming out. All right. Do I see any other guests? All right. See a hand in the back. No? We're good? All clear. Thank you. All right. Well, first up, let's get over to a very exciting thing. Thank you, Fun and Friendship, for our greeting line today. You guys were so fun. It's nice to be greeted with, let's clap for that. There were freshly made cookies there. And whiskey. All right. Blue badge presentation. Maybe we have Kimberly Hill, Yuri Lavore, and Christian Pelekia. Come on up to get your blue badge. Maybe Jeff can play us some walk-on music since he's still at the piano. For those that might be new in the room, we do have some guests today. Blue badge means that you've completed your first year of Rotary under red badge, meaning you've done many projects, you've attended many meetings, you've learned all about Rotary, done orientations, and now you're official with your blue badge, and we welcome you. Come on over, we'll get a photo. How's this right here? All right. Kim Hill, everybody. Christian Pelekia, come on up. Yuri, come on over. Welcome, welcome. You know, you still can work the barbecue if you miss it. We won't tell you no. All right, we've got a great announcement today. This is one of my favorite things that we do during the year, and that is announcing our community benefit partners. Scott Payne, before I steal all your thunder and keep talking because I'm so excited about here, welcome Scott Payne on community grants.
Thank you, Heather. Yeah, I know all of you are on other committees, various committees, and I know you think you probably are on the best committee. But this was a, yeah, but this is, and yeah, you'll see, I hear you. But this is a great committee because we get to actually give out the money that you have all donated and contributed to our club. And that's through the foundation. It's you know, it's our annual obligation and commitment of $400 plus a person. And I'd like to announce that we're at like 78% right now, and so there's still time to get your contributions in by the end of the year. But you're going to see now where your money's gone. Besides the money that we give to, or the foundation gives to all the different committees and so forth, this is money going directly to 501c3 organizations and helping our community. So let's see if we can get this. Okay, so we had 28 requests. These are again 501c3 organizations that have requested a grant, and the organizations funded were 21, and 10 of those were new. So obviously some of the grants are repeat, and justifiably so in some cases. 300. So the request was $340,000. And our limit this year was $200,000. Last year was $200,000. Before that, the year before that was $150,000, and it was lower before that. So we've gradually, because of everybody here that donates, and because our foundation and our club is doing so well financially, that we're increasing that. So $200,000 went out. So here I'm just going to flash up you can take a look at, these are the organizations that we actually contributed to this year. And while you're looking, I'm going to tell you who is on the contributions committee. And so we're charged with reviewing the applications from the 501c3 organizations and making sure that meet our criteria. And then a committee member goes out to every one of these organizations, even if it's a repeat, and asks them why they need the money and make sure it meets our criteria. So Bonnie Bamberg, Chris Duke, Daniel Nevis, Sarah Janigan, Sandra Gill, Steve Prouty, who's chair next year, by the way, of this, Suzanne Wolf, Stephanie Belinsky, and Ginger Sotelo. So those are the people that did the work behind the scenes on this. There's some more right there. Take a look. Would you like me to read them out? Okay, Bay Area Women's Sports Initiative. And a lot of these came from club members, recommendations, and people that are involved in these organizations, and had them take a look. Boys and Girls Clubs of Silicon Valley, California Native Garden Foundation, Community Seva, Inc., EAH Housing Markham Plaza, Family Giving Tree, Family Supportive Housing, Inc., Hearts and Minds Activity Center, History San Jose, Jewish Family Services of Silicon Valley, Mother's Milk Bank, New Ballet, Pivotal, Salvation Army of Silicon Valley, San Jose Day Nursery, San Jose Initiative of Contemporary Art, San Jose Public Library Foundation, San Jose Women's Club, Santa Clara County Search and Rescue, Seneca Family of Agencies, YMCA of Silicon Valley, Central YMCA. And so just as a recap, just real quick history, this is what your foundation has been doing. So since the 86, 87 year when it was founded, we've given out 729 community grants, 291 organizations have been funded, and $3.8 million. And then during that time for the committees has been 3.3 million, and for special projects, 2.1. So the foundation, because of your contributions, have given out $9.3 million to our community. And so, yeah. So thank each and every one of you, and this is why we're in this club, besides having a good time, which we always do. But thank you again, and again, there's still time to get your contributions in for a significant tax deduction this year. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Look at that delta of just under $700,000 to get to 10 million. Matt Breaker, are you watching that? You'll be hearing more and other ways that you can participate to get to that number. I want to give a special preview shout out to our gala committee that's going to be greeting you at our first meeting of the year. So if you get that call to support the gala, you know that this is how this goes. This is the conduit to get these funds out to our local community right here in San Jose. Thank you so much, Scott. Next up, more good news. It's just all good news today. Hal Hendrickson, come on up to talk about the Fall Red Badge Project. Oh, and Rachel Thomas, too. Fantastic. Wonderful. These are Red Badgers that share the Red Badge Project within the Red Badge year. It's a big, heavy lift, folks.
Thank you, President Heather. I'm Rachel Thomas. I'm at Greenfield, a law firm. My sponsor is Norm Holberg. And this year, I worked with Hal and President Heather to coordinate the Red Badge Committee's service project. And our fall project, we worked with the City of San Jose Parks and Recreation Department to get together and volunteer to beautify the Japanese Friendship Garden. And it was in a morning in November. And Hal, if you want to. Go ahead. Okay, thank you. We had 31 participants, including 2 from San Jose State University. And we gathered at the Friendship Garden, and the City of San Jose Parks and Recreation Department provided all the materials that we needed to do the project there. Is this the next one? Okay, thank you.
So we actually had, I won't introduce myself again because I did a minute ago, but we actually had 2 areas of focus. We were assigned a hill, and the Rotary Club purchased the plants, and we did planting and restoration, and then we had the second assignment of sanding and staining the benches and the garbage receptacles. So we actually had a good crew show up. You'd be proud of how hard your Red Badge Committee worked as we went through the morning, but this was, I'm sorry, I'm going to go back. This was the planting and restoration project. This was the sanding and staining part of the project. And we actually had a reporter on scene who sent us a report out.
Hey Rotarians, we are here at the Japanese Friendship Garden, a beautiful, beautiful space here in San Jose. And our Red Badgers are here doing a fantastic planting project and also sanding and fixing up our benches here. Take a look. Check it out.
So I believe that was a J. Alexander production.
So we would just encourage each of you to visit the Japanese Friendship Garden, which is near the Gordon House. And we also would invite you to follow President Heather on Facebook for other news reports that she may have. And thank you also to all the warm welcomes from the Rotarians in our Red Badge year.
Thank you.
That was great. Thank you so very, very much. I also want to let all of you know that the plants were chosen specifically for that setting, maintaining the Japanese cultural aesthetic of the garden. So it wasn't just like, hey, what do we want to plant? We're really going with a good planting schematic. Dave Cowan's got an update for us from the program committee. Come on up.
Thank you, President Heather. And let's see if we can advance the slides here. There we go. So you're going to get tired of seeing me. I've asked Heather to come up at least once a quarter. So last time you applauded for me a little louder as I was getting started. Now I hear it's a little less. So you have your chance to give us feedback and give me feedback anytime you'd like. But in a more formal way, we're doing our second quarterly member survey. So we're going to be asking you to respond to how you felt about the speakers over the last 3 months. They're listed up here, and they're also listed in the survey so that you can give us feedback on how we're doing. It's a simple survey. If you want to use your scanner and scan that barcode, you could take it in the 2 minutes while I'm up here talking, or you can access it over the next 2 to 3 weeks. There'll be a link in the weekly bulletin that goes out from the Rotary office. There will also be a link on the club website. So if you use DACTB and go to the club website, you can access the survey there. So no excuses not to respond to the survey. Performance metrics. In the program committee, we're trying to track our performance and how we're doing. So your input is critical to that. Another thing that we're looking at is attendance. So we can see that quarter over quarter from Q2 of this year to Q3 of this year, or in our fiscal year terms, fourth quarter of last fiscal year to first quarter of this fiscal year, we actually saw a 9% increase in members attending our meetings. We also saw a 37% increase in guests attending the meeting. So Narju, you should be happy about that. And so total attendance in person went up by 9%. And then if we look at same quarter last year, year over year, we're also up by about 9% in attendance. So we're looking at how we can contribute through programs and speakers to get more people to our meetings. So, results from the first quarterly survey that we did. They're not statistically significant because I think most of the respondents were on the program committee. So we're just listening to ourselves talk. So we hope to increase that. I think we had about 36 responses. I'm looking to get 100 out of 400 members. Getting 100 responses at least would be, I think, doable. 65% of the people agree or strongly agree their decision to attend weekly meetings is based on the speaker and or the topic. So I think what we're doing on the program committee is really important. I've shared this with our committee. 86% said the quality of the topics was either excellent or very good, and nobody said it was poor. So again, if you feel differently, if you feel it's poor or just fair, fill out the survey, let us know. Finally, quality of speakers. Again, excellent or very good, 83%, none poor. So again, if you don't like speakers, if you don't think they're doing a good job, let us know. We want to keep these numbers going north. And then we asked specifically on what topics you'd like to hear about, because that drives the speakers we're bringing in. So the top 5 topics that respondents wanted to hear more about: current affairs in the US, performing arts and entertainment, current affairs international, politics, local, and business and economics. And just talking about politics, I know some people don't like to come to Rotary and hear about politics or hear from politicians. And I think we in the program committee have a conversation often about politics versus political, meaning that we might not want to bring in people who are running for office and hear a stump speech. On the other hand, if we're interested in current affairs or what's happening in the world around us, many of those things can be politicized. And so I'd like us as a club to make the distinction. We're going to have speakers come in. We're giving our speakers direction to give us the facts, to give us well-supported facts, but not share their opinion or in any way share a political bias, if you will, one way or the other. So that's the direction we're giving to our speakers. Again, if you have any issues or concerns with that, please come see me and talk with me, or better yet, join the committee so your voice is heard. All right, and finally, you give me one more minute.
You got it.
All right. Upcoming speakers, I'm really excited. When I came up here last time and told you what our goals for the program committee were, I told you that Heather tasked us with getting, excuse me, at least 6 A-list speakers during her term. I think we've done that. I think John Nakamatsu was one example of that, the concert pianist who was here about 2 months ago. I'm excited over the next 2 months by all of these speakers, but let me just talk to a couple of them. And apologies, I haven't memorized the backgrounds of all our speakers, so I'm going to read. Adam Chyer. He's an inventor, entrepreneur, engine leader, and pioneer in artificial intelligence and human interfaces. He was actually a co-founder of Siri, which was then acquired by Apple and integrated into their phones. He's now Vice President of Customer Experience at Airbnb. So yes, it's an AI theme, but it's specifically about the human interface and where we're going with AI. We also have Dr. Adam Trister, who's both a medical doctor and a PhD, who has 2 decades of experience leading transformative health technology initiatives. He served as a founding member of Apple's health team and then Deputy Director of Digital Health and AI at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. He's now Chief Medical and Scientific Officer at Verily, a health technology company owned by Google's parent company, Alphabet. And the third one is Chris Kirchhoff. And Chris is an expert in emerging technologies and founder of the Pentagon's Silicon Valley office. Chris was Director of Strategic Planning for the National Security Council and Senior Civilian Advisor to the Joint Chiefs of Staff. In those roles and since, Chris has led teams for the President of the United States, the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and the CEO of Google. So he's well connected both in military, in the government, and in the private sector. And he's going to be talking about a book that he co-authored called Unit X. And Unit X is about how Silicon Valley and the Pentagon are now working together to advance technologies used in the war, in war operations, but especially about our challenges with China, who's so much further ahead in this area than we are. So, for those of you in the book club and those who aren't, buy Chris's book, Unit X. It's available on Amazon. Read it before he comes. It's a fascinating book, but it's also super frustrating about what's holding us back. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Fantastic. Next up, around town with Sal.
I know we're running late, so
No, I gave my president's minutes. You're good.
Okay. All right, so closing out the year here, plenty is still to do in downtown San Jose at the end of December, for those of you who aren't skittering out of town soon. And I think I'll be doing one of these at the beginning of January, so I'm just focused on the end of December. We had a big opening of a restaurant downtown, Eos and Nick's in the former Camera 12 space. This is fantastic for downtown. I know a lot of Rotarians have been there already. If you haven't, you should owe it to yourself to check it out as soon as you can. It's been described as a type of restaurant, honestly, we don't see enough of in San Jose, and it's great to have our friends from Scott Seafood have a little bit of a restaurant row going there with them on one end and ES and Nick's on the other end. It's good energy, and if we want to keep places like this coming to downtown, you know, we got to support them. They're open for brunch Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and dinner the rest of the week. Also, I don't have a slide for it, but another opening is Hobie's finally opened down at the old Germania Hall near St. James Park, across from the Hillbrook School. Wonderful breakfast. Everybody complains we don't have enough breakfast places in San Jose, in downtown. Here's one we should all be patronizing when we can. They're open for breakfast and lunch every day. Lots of other stuff happening. At Poorhouse Bistro, backyard bar bourbon tasting. I know we've got some whiskey fans down at my table. That's happening tonight, so if you've got time. The Tripartite Rotary Chamber San Jose Downtown Association Happy Hour at 55 South, which is all holidayed out as Sippin' Santas tomorrow. The Tech Interactive is inviting its adults to come have, again, some whiskey. We're all about whiskey this month. Whiskey and wine, and explore the museum without kids around. There's a holiday market, San Pedro Square, on the 21st, daytime noon to 6. And of course, many of you are members of the Capital Club, and they are closing at the end of the month. After 34 years, they're having a farewell event. It's a ticketed event, December 21st. If you're a member, they've contacted you. If you're not, I believe there's an Eventbrite link you can get onto if you want to attend. And Pete Escovedo is back at the Signia, which used to be the Fairmont, for New Year's Eve. So he and his children will be doing a New Year's Eve party that night. And there's still some holiday events coming. We've got Christmas in the Park going tonight and next Wednesday, which is Christmas Day. This wonderful pianist, Lucas Texan, is doing a piano bar with holiday songs from 5:30 to 7:30. President Heather had him sing a Billie Eilish song for me last week, and I loved it. San Jose Nutcrackers finishing up this weekend. Downtown Ice is going through January 20th. And City Lights Theater is finishing up this weekend with Truce, A Christmas Wish from the Great War, which they originally did 10 years ago. It's a wonderful show. Just saw it this weekend. So that's what I've got, and we'll see you next month.
Thank
Yes.
you so much. Yeah, that's not going to happen. All righty. I am so excited about this guest. Guisselle Nunez was born in Nicaragua and raised in San Jose. I've been a lifelong resident here of San Jose. Many of you know her, but if you don't, you're about to get to know her and hopefully become a good friend as she is to me today. I just want to get her started here right away. Guisselle, Pam, can you make your way to the stage and we can get right into your introduction time, right into your interview time? Come on up. I could go on and on, it'd be better if you guys do. You guys got your microphones? You got your microphone? Yeah. Yes. Okay. All right. Guisselle Nunez is going to be interviewed by our very own Pam Foley. Take it away.
Thank you, Heather. Guisselle, I'm so excited to have you here.
Pam, thank you so much.
This is great. If you happen to be over there and you can't see us, there's room over here. But we're here because we wanted to be comfortable in these comfy seats, so we're just going to have a conversation like we're sitting in someone's living room and chatting about this book. And the book is Life in the Fishbowl. If you haven't read it, you should. Guisselle, it should be mandatory reading for anyone running for any elected office.
Well, that's what Terry Christensen said. So he wrote the foreword, and so many of you know him. He's a former San Jose State political science professor, and he was kind enough to write the foreword, and that's what he said. If I was still teaching, I would make this mandatory for all of my classes. So yes.
I found it fascinating as someone who's ran several times for office, both city council and school board. If I had had this book ahead of time, it would have been extremely helpful. And some of the things I want to point out is that you focus on certain areas, breaking down a candidate's life and their life as a politician and their life afterwards in several ways. And I really found that just fascinating. Is there a reason that you focused on those particular topics? Let me read them first.
Yeah, go.
Taking the leap. What's your why? You've won, now what? That's the scariest one. Pitfalls of public service and preparing for life after public service. I'm going to have, I know there's at least Dev Davis in the audience, so I'm going to ask her what she's doing down the line. I see her over there. Yep. So I found all of that advice really helpful because a candidate goes through this opportunity of thinking, why am I running? Or do they? What are the pitfalls? How do I inform my family? Now I'm elected, what the heck's next? Which is kind of a scary thing. You work really hard to get elected, and then all of a sudden, what do I do now that I'm in this role? Sometimes you know, sometimes you don't know. So tell us what your inspiration for the categories were and which one you found most fascinating, actually.
Yes, and right before I answer that question, I just want to also thank Larry Stone and Carmen Stone are in the book. So if you don't have, boo, yes, exactly. But I want to thank them because they shared a lot of good insight that is in the book. So if you have no other reason to read the book, read it because Larry's in it, right? So boo. And also, just in case you're wondering, Ron is not here with me, speaking about the book. He's had a personal change in his priorities, but Ron is still very excited about the project. And so if you ever go talk to him about running for office, just know you're either going to have homework or he's going to give you the book to read. So, and I know that some of you have also gotten that from him. But how did the idea come about, Pam? I mean, I was sort of in this world for 20 years, and for a good first decade, well, actually actually for the last 20 years, I always had a lot of political spouses coming to me for advice. Now, I've taught personal branding for many years, for a decade and a half. So I always had folks come up to me for advice on that. But then all of a sudden, I was also getting spouses asking me, well, how do I navigate this world, the negativity, the time that my spouse is away? How do I just manage all of this? My frustrations with people not being happy with my spouse or whatever it may be. Then at the same time, Ron was always getting asked for advice, right, just on running for office. And so essentially it was a simmer. It was like this idea was simmering for years on how can I put something together that people can just take away, that can be a one-stop shop where they can have the large picture of what to expect. It's kind of like that book, that pregnancy book that's called What to Expect When You're Expecting. That's this book, What to Expect When You're Expecting if you're considering running for office. So it was that. It was a simmer, and it was years of ideas and conversations that were put into the book.
Truly, I wish I had it before I ran my first campaign. I'm sure I still would have ran my first campaign, but I just would have been more prepared, particularly with the conversation with the spouse, which we'll get to in just a minute. I know there's a lot of elected officials in here who are currently in office. Larry Stone, for one. David Cohen is another. I think I saw Rod here. Is Rod Dearden here? I did see him. And I know that you all have stories and that you could offer input in this book and advice to people running for office and while they're serving. But I get the privilege of sitting here and asking questions, and I know you'll have that opportunity in a few minutes when President Heather gives me the high sign and tells me I'm done. Oh, look. Oh, wait, there's a timer in the back. I didn't even know. Yes. Perfect. Thank you. Okay, we know how much time we have now. Okay. What's your favorite story in the book?
I have a lot of favorite stories. Some stories did not make it into the book, but my favorite story in the book is where we talk about, so one of the lessons is how to manage negativity. So one of the stories that was told to us by former council member Raul Perales was about his mother, his dear mother Denise. We actually used to go to church together as well. And I remember I was putting two and two together after Raul told us this story. This is about his mom managing how she responded to social media. So I remember watching also. I remember watching Denise respond to the trolls and the negativity that were on, Raul's, social media page, and she would be responding to all of them. And I always wondered, I wonder why she's doing that. Well, Raul told the story later that she did a lot of that. She was always responding to all the negative stuff. And then one day, son and daughter-in-law had to sit down with her and say, Mom, you can't do that. You can't respond to all the negative stuff. You can't respond to all the trolls. Because it was a lot. She was busy responding to all the negative stuff. It was a part-time job for her. So all of a sudden, I remember I started to see Denise still responding to the trolls and the negative stuff. But she would say, I love you, son. I love you, son. I love you, son. I love you, son. So when Raul told that story, I'm like, that's why she started saying that. She couldn't help herself, but now she was going to say, I love you, son. And that was her way of still, she's still protective, but yet she's not going to get in too much trouble. So that's my favorite story, right, of how to manage negativity. So just ask Mom.
Well, so that's an interesting topic, that the candidates sometimes are preparing themselves for the negative conversations. The negative ads that come out, Facebook, people coming after them so that they don't win. Sometimes they're truths, sometimes they're twisted truths, but they're always painful, and a candidate sort of has to kind of steel themselves to that. But their loved ones aren't prepared for that. So what's your advice to the loved ones to prepare for that?
What's my advice? It's going to depend on the level of you got to know your family members. There may be some family members who just cannot be involved in anything. I mean, that's just the truth. Maybe they just can't. And then there's going to be other family members who can probably put some boundaries or shut out the noise, right? But in general, it's hard. There's no perfect formula to it. I think you have to have those conversations of, this is going to happen. The negativity will happen. How do we deal with it as a family? How do we deal with it as individuals? I know that for me, and also some of the stories that are that are included in the book. I mean, it's a lot of work. I mean, it took me many years to forgive many people that were in elected office that were not perhaps changed colors, let's just say, throughout the years that Ron was in office. I mean, that was hurtful to me personally. My parents to this day don't vote for certain people because of what they did at that time. My former mother-in-law, who has now since passed, many years ago, she had the spouse of an elected official at that time who had not been very nice to her son, and she recognized the spouse that came to the door doing precinct walking. So what do you think my mother-in-law did? She slammed the door in her face. So it could be that the electeds may have already agreed on their differences or whatever else, but the family can remember for a very long time and carry that, right? That emotional burden of like, you have hurt my loved one. So we just have to be aware that that's a reality. And so the headlines are not just about you, the headlines also hurt everybody else in your family.
Very, very true. It's hard to compartmentalize that
Exactly.
sometime. When you
Yes.
go home after knocking on doors, if you've had a good day and then you see a mail piece that's negative and your spouse is saying,
Yes.
look what they said about you, or look how awful that picture is, it's hard to separate that
To
and
let it
tell
go.
them, honey, let it go, it's
Yeah.
okay, I got it, it's all right, we're still going to win.
Yeah. It hurts. It hurts.
And we do, right? So in the book, you mentioned the why.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about the why and how a candidate might develop the why as they consider running for office?
Yeah, the big why. First, I would recommend that you read Simon Sinek's, wait, I just forgot the name of the book. Start with your why. Start with why. And he talks about, so this is more of, if you want to develop your why, do this little exercise and draw the circle of why's in the middle, how is on the outer side, and then the last circle is what. And normally we tend to operate from the what and the how, but we don't normally tend to go deeper into the why. So I think having some self-reflection and just self-awareness of understanding what your why is, right? Because people buy things, they vote for you because they understand and they connect to your why, not your what and not your how. So, but part of developing your why is also asking yourself, well, why am I doing this? What am I attracted to? There are perks that are associated with being in elected office. Is that why I'm attracted? Or is it because I truly want to serve? And having a strong why will carry you through those lean years and will also carry your family through. So having your family also understand your why are you running, why is it that you want to serve, is important because it's going to carry them also when they're dealing with that negativity. So in essence, there's a lot of self-awareness and self-reflection that has to be done, but I think you have to be clear that it really has to come from the heart.
I think that having a why, being able to synthesize your why into a couple of sentences, like an elevator pitch,
Exactly.
is really important. Many candidates can give you 10 reasons or 10 things about what they want to do when they're in office, but they can't articulate why they want to be in office or why you should support them other than their list of things that they want to do. And frankly, their list of things they want to do are the list that every candidate has. It's the same list, public safety, depending on the office that they're running for. They're all very similar.
And they may not be able to do it.
And they may not. So I know Larry Stone has a list when you meet with him. If you're considering running office, he has some things that he's looking for when he meets with a candidate. And one of them is to be able to articulate why you're running and what you hope to accomplish in a very succinct way and with some information and data behind it. Am I off point with that, Larry?
Well, now he's added the book, he said. Now he's added this book to the list, though.
And I loved the stories of the people in current office who have held office, the family members. They were really insightful, and you will recognize everyone. There's many of them here. I think Rod is in it, too.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's, I I loved all of the stories, and it is really an easy read, so please, everyone, pick it up. In your book, you know, you've been married to an elected official who had some ups and downs. Every elected official has friends and allies. Can you differentiate the difference between an ally and a friend?
Yes, allies and friends. Who knows the difference in the audience of allies and friends? Well, Deb does. Dessa does. So yes, exactly. So some of us know, and this applies to everyday life, but in politics in particular. I mean, I consider politics it's a full contact sport. I know I have felt the full contact sport aspect of it. And so allies versus friends is allies are with you when it's convenient for them, and friends are with you for the long haul, right? Regardless. And the important part about this is that you just have to know the difference. And it's okay to have allies, because you need allies at certain times, but you just need to know that they are allies, right? So that when they don't support you in whatever way you want them to support, you know, so that you're not hurt. Because it hurts. For some of us, it hurts. So I think just having the reality check of who's who and where everybody stands is important. I mean, we learned that the hard way when the last 2 years that Ron was in office, and so that's actually when this came about. When I was doing some research around talking about this, and so I realized, oh, that's right, allies versus friends. How simple could that be? That's so basic, but we forget, because most of us, I think, come to the table with trusting, fully trusting. And we just have to know that if politics is a full contact sport, you know that the trust, well, it's not exactly what you think it's going to be. So you just have to know that. And so not everything is genteel and respectful as I thought it would be as well. So.
You mentioned the word trust, and I think that's really important. Trust goes both ways. When we're asked to vote in a particular way on a particular issue, the people you meet with have to understand or trust that you're going to make the right decision for your community, and not for the ally. So what's your advice to an elected who has to say no to an ally? What's the best way to handle that?
Say no early. I mean, be clear, right, about what your values are, what your principles are, so that you know and you understand why you're placing the vote as such. But I think essentially understand who's going to be with you and who's not with you for whatever the reasons are, and just be clear to them and say that and say no early. I mean, that's really as simple as it is. I think, you know, most of us tend to be scared to do that. But if you understand who you're working with and what their purpose is, then I think you can manage that and stay true to your own sort of moral compass and why you want to do the things you think are the best way.
That leads me into the next question. Can you tell me or tell what's your best advice for an elected on following their moral compass?
Meditation. Find stillness every day and do some self-awareness. No, I mean, really, you have to get into this role, and even again, whether you're the candidate or the elected office holder or the family, and you have to have a good sense of what that moral compass is, right? Because your why has to reflect that moral compass. And so when you come up for tough votes, I mean, when the community is out with pitchforks against you because they're not happy with you, what are you going to do? How are you going to look in the mirror and ask yourself, okay, you know, I'm making the right decision? And so, I mean, so you have to know exactly what it is that why you vote the way you vote. Are you clear about your purpose, your principles, your values, right? Are you willing to lose your job with a recall because you believe so much in that vote? I mean, I've had that experience, right, through my spouse. So that's part of the moral compass, is why are you voting on such things? Is it for today, because you believe it's right? Or are you just thinking about your future and trying to hold a seat because you're trying to get to the other seat, right? That's part of understanding what your moral compass is.
It's not the best reason to vote a particular way,
No,
by the
it's
way.
not. But it happens.
Your future, it happens all the time. In my head, many times as I'm making a difficult decision, I think, what's my North Star? What's my moral compass on this issue? And if you're true to your being, your person, then you will always make the right decision for you and your community, and you can always defend it too. Instead, if you're wishy-washy going back and forth and constantly thinking, okay, how is my community going to think when I decide to run for the next office, it's not the best motivation. You're not being true to your community.
Right, and you're not being true
Not
to
to,
yourself.
not to lecture
and
everyone,
your why,
but
right? And
right, and
having
your
a
why,
real
and your
clear
why.
sense of your why.
Right.
And your family understanding that, because the family, you know, you can be at the grocery store and the spouse can be asked, well, why did your spouse vote so, you know, in such and such way? I mean, that happened to me, and I had to be ready to understand that and to answer that as well.
Yeah. So you talk about life after being an elected. Can you talk about that a little bit and offer some advice for a recently out of office, well, not quite yet, Deb, but close, office, but as I have 2 years, as I have 2 years left, everyone asks me, what are you going to do next? What are you going to do next? I don't know what I'm going to do next, so no one asked me today because I don't know yet, but I'm thinking about it. So what's your advice for both the elected life afterwards, because you're no longer council member, you're just Pam. as simple as that is. So, and the family too.
And
They're
the
no
family,
longer
too.
council member's spouse, which may make them all happy, by the way. But what's your advice for after the election or after office?
After office, yeah. I mean, it's just, there's no perfect formula, right? But I think the most important part is understanding that even while you're in office, what else is there for you outside of that role, right? That role should not be your life, because then at some point that role is going to come to an end. So as people come up to you, which I know they have to you, and say like, I think you should run for assembly, I think you should run for this, right? And so they can get into your head about, oh, well, maybe I should. But at the end of the day, as I even mentioned to you, if you do want to run for something in the future and it feels right, that doesn't mean you have to do it now. You can ride on the good things that you did now. Your brand will still be in existence. So you don't need to make any decisions that are not really true to you, only because other people think that it's right for you.
Absolutely. And I hear President Heather, but President Heather, do you mind if I ask Dev a question?
And that will segue beautifully into our Q&A. I love that you're asking her the question. Go for it. We're going to need to get a microphone over for her to answer so folks on Zoom can hear. And Hal Hendrickson is making his way over
And as they're bringing the microphone over, I wanted to just say what a delight it was to meet you on Zoom a month or so ago and to get to know you. I'm truly... I feel like we're old friends and we just met.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate the opportunity. I love your writing style. It's very easy and approachable, and I hope that our paths cross very soon in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you, Pam. It's
Thank
been
you
a
for
pleasure
being
as well.
here.
Thank you.
Wasn't she fabulous?
Thank you. Thank you.
Are we ready?
She's ready.
Okay, Dev. So what do you know now, after your 8 years, that you wish you knew before you ran?
Pace yourself.
Pace yourself.
Pam told me I had to keep it short. I really should have paced myself and taken one day off a week at the beginning. I didn't do that until the last year, actually. And my health is much better for it, and my family life is much better for it, and I wish I had paced myself. And by the way, Giselle, you are 100% right about the meditation.
I'd see, right?
It was 2 weeks after I was elected, and I couldn't sleep, and I started meditating on the advice of a friend and have not stopped since.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Absolutely. I agree with the meditation. I do it every day. It's very centering and very helpful. Okay, thank you. I'm going to turn it back to Heather.
Yeah, you guys hang out right there because we've got Q&A, and I've got Arthur Weisbrot ready to go.
So you talk about idealism, you know, your moral compass, as if you're going to be able to vote the way you think on each thing. But isn't there compromise? You give me this, I'll give you that, even though I don't agree with that. Isn't there a lot of compromise that goes into politics that you're idealizing?
Yes, and yes, and yes. It's all of that.
Right.
It's not a perfect formula, but you just have to understand, and I think Pam can speak to this even more. So, I mean, I've just been on the front lines watching this as my spouse comes home, talking about all of these different things that, yeah, there is compromise. You have to compromise. There's no way you can't compromise. But how much are you compromising at the end of the day is the question. And also understanding who it is that you need to work with, right? And so, Pam, I mean, you know, do you want to
Well, sure, yeah. I mean, you have to count to 6 in order to get your proposal through. And if it's a controversial proposal, you're going to have both sides who aren't happy one way or the other. But you need to, I'm a centrist, so I like to bring, I know Dev is too, you like to bring people together and find wins on both sides that we can all live with, that really moves the issue forward for the greater good of the city of San Jose and the residents of San Jose. That still has to be your moral compass.
Right. Nice. Exactly. So you still have to have clarity on your why.
Fantastic. Okay, Dave Cowan, our program chair, has got a question.
All right. Thank you, President Heather. Thank you, Guisselle. And since you're in marketing, I'm trying to broaden the market for your book. When you and I first spoke about this talk, we talked about the fact that this isn't just for people running for office, nor is it just for their families.
Right.
What should the rest of us who aren't thinking about running for office or don't have a spouse who's in office, what can we get out of this book?
Yeah, so thank you, David. So that's a very good question, and I'm glad that you asked it. So my message in this book was really twofold. Number one, for the audience that is interested in running and wants to learn more, this is a one-stop shop to understand what to expect when you're expecting, so that you can potentially make your decision based on good information, right? And then you can continue to learn more and grow more from that. The second piece is that if you're just interested in politics in general, there's no other really space out there that talks about the personal side of politics. So my goal in telling these stories is hopefully some of us will have a little more empathy for what it takes to be in this role. And that, again, it's not just when you see someone being berated on TV for something, think about the fact that the family's also listening to this, the mom's listening to this, right? It affects everybody. So maybe we can have a little more empathy for the folks on any side, blue, red, white, yellow, whatever it is, everybody suffers the same way at some point or another. So thank you, David, for that question.
Thank you. Dan Orloff.
Thanks, Guisselle. Great topic. And hopefully you're sharing this with younger, up-and-coming leaders. They should hear this. The fishbowl's gotten a lot larger since the advent of social media. What advice would you give to the candidate, those already in office, and those that are close to them?
Let's see. Make sure mom is not responding to the social media post. No, really. I mean, really, Dan, I mean, it's something that is ongoing and just something that you have to just learn how to manage. I'll give you an example, and Pam, you can chime in. I know that, some of my friends who are in office and have kids, I mean, they basically just shut it off. They don't look at social media anymore. One of those friends is in the book, and she said, I always used to look at it after the council meetings, and then I realized I was driving myself crazy. So I just don't look at it. So, and that applies to your staff as well, because it also affects your staff, by the way. Yes, it affects you, it can affect your family, but your staff is also involved in all of this, right? That is happening to you because they're representing you. So one way is, learn how to shut it off and learn how to manage that, just shut the noise off, right? Pam?
I think that's great advice. Don't pay attention. Don't go on Nextdoor. Nextdoor twists whatever it is you're doing, and there's some big conspiracy that you're going to benefit from financially from anything that goes on in their district or the city. Couldn't be further from the truth. It's absolutely ridiculous, so don't go on Nextdoor. Also, I actually avoid social media as it relates to me and my council office, but I know my staff somewhat pays attention to it. And I know if there's things negative on it, they're not sharing it with me, because they don't want me to be in that space. They want me to be in the positive, do good work space and not feeling negative about the work that's going on. So Scott, I really do appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we've got time for one more. Odessa.
I have a two-part question. One is, can you please elaborate on the time that Ron was recalled? Because you mentioned it, but you didn't say the why. And then the second part is, because you talked about the allies versus friends. What percentage of new friends, when someone is an elected official, from the day they get sworn in, to the time they leave office, what percentage of them do they stay? And again, that gives a reality to a lot of elected officials who get sworn in. From that time on, they're getting a lot of new friends, quote unquote.
So I will talk about the last question first. So in the book, this friend of mine who's the mayor of Tustin, and she just termed out actually, she talks about her husband being surprised at all the new friends that he was getting when she was in office. And so we call it fast friends. And he was thoroughly disappointed to learn that those play dates that were being arranged by these friends were really just to get to his wife. And he was thoroughly he was disappointed, right? So it happens. I just saw an interview by Richard Nixon in the 80s, and so he talks about how he knew that when he had a lot of people around him, he was high. He wasn't physically high, right? But he was on top, right? He was on top of the world. And then when the friends kind of went away, he knew that that's when he was that he had a low period. So we have to be aware of the fact that we have a lot of fast friends. And so again, you have to understand who is around you that are really truly your friends, and make sure that you stay and you keep that circle alive, because everyone else is really just going to be noise for the most part. And then the recall was the
If you can do a brief answer on that one.
Okay.
Just brief on a recall.
Recall was because they were voting for the same sex, huh? Yeah, exactly. It was for the insurance at that time, for the same sex, same sex marriage insurance.
Prop 8?
No. So this was when the city of San Jose first gave benefits to same-sex partners. And so there was a Christian coalition of sorts that wanted to recall Ron and Kenny Yeager. And so Ron was like, hey, if I have to hang my sword on this one, I'm going to do it because I believe in this. So back to moral compass, right? Yeah. So.
Thank you so much. What a great interview. We could go on and on.
Thank you.
A gift has been made in your name to the, yes, wonderful, wonderful.
Thank you.
Where can, briefly before I want to let you know that we made a gift in your name to the Dancing Cat Lounge and Adoption Center here in downtown San Jose for all those little kitties. And then where can we find you on social media? Where can we find your book? Is it on Amazon? Is it on a personal website? Where can we find you?
Amazon.
Awesome.
Amazon.
Guisselle Nunez,
Yeah.
Amazon. Wonderful, wonderful. Pam Foley, thank you very, very much. Wonderful. All right.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you. As a reminder, next week and the week after, December 25th and January 1st, those are easy to remember that we are dark on those days. Take your break. Don't miss out on your friends, but take a break from the center for that day. And then coming back on the 8th is going to be, oh my gosh, the speaker that day is going to be Eddie Garcia, back in town. Really excited about that. And he'll be speaking on surviving a heart transplant. If you guys know Eddie Garcia, that was shocking to me. That guy's fit as a fiddle, so great health messages. Today, don't forget, Sal mentioned it, but we will be meeting at the downtown happy hour at 55 South. And then a final note, you might have heard things tomorrow. Did I say today? Thank you. Tomorrow is happy hour. I'm already looking forward to it. You might have seen some things in the news, some comments about polio, and in a very non-political response, I want to remind everybody that our role in polio eradication has been since inception with Rotary International and the Gates Foundation since the early 80s. We have been consistent on that. We are working with Dan Orloff on issuing a very positive piece and just reinstating what we have always done, what we will continue to do, and that is to eradicate polio, which is a killer and a paralyzer. Right. Thank you so much. We will see you in 2 weeks or at a happy hour soon. We are adjourned.